to see everyone here today, and happy Juneteenth. If we could get the presentation. And I hope everyone is doing well. Thank you so much. So again, I am Deitra Dennis, and today we will be talking about health through heritage, claiming our health by claiming our history. So if we go to the next slide. So we're going to talk about soul food and explain the impact of soul food on African heritage, on African Americans, including the impact that it has been on us for COVID-19. And we will talk about the African heritage diet, and we'll put some call to action in there for you to take some steps for health through heritage. Next slide, please. All right, so before we get started, I want to ask a question. What is your favorite food at the cookout? I know mine is barbecue baked beans. Has been and still is. Let's see, I don't see any action in the chat. Come on, tell me what is your favorite food at the cookout? Okay, maybe it's a delay in there, but I'm sure you'll let me know what's going on. So let's go to the next slide. So let's think of this right now as, I know we're on StreamYard for the platform, but let's think of this as our backyard cookout conversation. And so treat me as your cousin. One of my uncles, whenever we would have a gathering and we would say, that person, I don't know them. And he would just say, that's your cousin too, baby. So think of me as your cousin too, baby. So in order to know about your cousin, let me tell you a little bit about me. So my journey, on the picture here on the left, this is me when I was around 8 or 9 years old. And I see the comments coming, the potato salad. Yes, indeed, beans and dogs, chicken. I see you. But again, when I was 9 years old, I had something that occurred that impacted my life, that changed my trajectory. So, think of this. It was a day where the usual things happen, when your mom is on the phone, that you feel like, okay, she's distracted, you can do whatever you want to do. Well, this day was a little different. My mom answered the phone, and it was a little different. Her facial expression, her body, it just was different than I was used to her seeing. It was just like devastation on her face, a sadness. And so when she hung up the phone, what news she shared really changed my life. And so she shared that my cousin, who was in her 20s, had died. She had complications of obesity, and she had a heart attack and passed away. I can tell you from that day, it was an awakening for me. So I started really paying attention what was going on around me. So I had an uncle who had diabetes and was blind. I started seeing, not just in my family, but community-wise, that I had a cousin that had amputation, started with her toe and went up to below her knee. All of this really impacted me and was very saddening to me. And I remember verbalizing, I don't remember the exact age, but I know I was still young. And I said, I have to do something about this, because this cannot be. This is just not normal. So that led me on the path to become a nurse. And I'm glad to report I'm celebrating 28 years, just celebrated 28 years of being a nurse. And so by becoming a nurse, I felt that I could really help and bring impact to my community. And I still see the comments coming, macaroni salad. Yes, that's a good one too. But when I received my pen as a nurse, taking the Florence Nightingale Pledge, one of the things that stood out to me and still resonate with me today is that nursing is a call to service. And what you do in that call to service, you devote yourself to the well-being of those committed to your care. And so that today still rings true for me. So a little bit about, when I became a nurse and the experience that I had. I really loved my patients, really enjoyed spending time with them and really helping them to heal, whatever that reason they were in the hospital. But I started seeing patterns there as well. People were coming in and out of the hospital, what we call frequent flyers. And so I had one patient in particular that, again, made a shift in my nursing career. This young man was in his 20s, so it kind of took me back to, that experience when I was 9 years old. And this young man was well over 500 pounds. He was really close to 600 or above. And this young man had been in the hospital for a long time. And because he was there for a long time, had an opportunity to really bond with him and ask some questions of him. Not judgmental, but really wanted to know, how did he get to where he was? And it was coaching before I knew what coaching was. And so, he shared with me some things. And then I asked, what will you do different once you get home, so that you don't go back to the same things? So fast forward, this young man had to go to inpatient rehab to learn to walk again. And so we were all excited for him because this was his way of getting back, home and, being able to live a healthy life. Well, I'm sad to report this young man, it was 1998 and it was around Thanksgiving and we had received the report. Yes, he had gone home, but this young man passed away as well. And when I tell you, that shook me to the core, and I really had to rethink nursing for me, because I felt like, okay, how could I have made an impact, a better impact on this young man so that he could have sustained a healthy lifestyle? So that from that point forward, I changed my nursing care from the bedside to the table side. And I began my journey. And I am from Macon, Georgia. Sorry, I didn't mention that. I have family on supporting on today. And so I am from Macon, Georgia. If you've never heard of Macon, Georgia, if you've heard of the late Richard Penniman, or you may know him as Little Richard, he was from Macon. And so in 1999, I made a change. I moved here to Atlanta, Georgia. And I feel that that path has led me to where I am today. So in 2013, I started my business, Full Circle Health Coaching, LLC, where we are a health and wellness solution offering evidence-based and culturally relevant services to improve the heart health of African American women. And so from that, I was able to meet quite a few people, and I still was on the journey because I really wanted to help our community live a healthy life, because it is very painful. I don't know about for you, but it's very painful not only to see my family, suffer from chronic diseases, but you have people passing away, that early or prematurely. And so I really, really wanted to find something that would really help the community. So like I said, 2013 was when I started my business. In 2015, I had the wonderful opportunity to connect with the organization Old Ways, and they rediscover goodness through cultural food traditions. And so I became a Taste of African Heritage instructor, and now I am the ambassador of African Heritage and Health. And so we'll learn more about that a little bit later. And one of my signature programs is Back to the Root, and we'll get into some of the cooking demos a little bit later. But I created that because I felt it's important for us to go back to the food ways of our African heritage in order to overcome and uproot the chronic diseases that so greatly impact us. Next slide. So soul food, and I have to give a disclaimer here. I really love music, so I may reference music as we go along. Just wanted to let you know that, because when I think of soul food, the song that comes to mind to me is James Brown's Soul Power. You need soul power. I don't know if you know that song, but anyway, that's what I think of when I hear or see the word soul food. Next slide, please. And so to define soul food, it's an ethnic cuisine traditionally prepared and eaten by African Americans that originated in the southern states. And now it also originated with foods that were given to the enslaved ancestors. I want you to remember that part, that it was the food given to the enslaved ancestors during the antebellum period. And it also, I'm not sure if you guys know this term, soul food, originated in 1962 by the late Amiri Baraka, because he wanted to affirm that African Americans had language and that they had culture, because many people felt that African Americans did not. So that's how that term came about, or it originated. And then the history professor and author Frederick Opie said that it's the food that African Americans began to create a long time ago to eat with dignity as enslaved people in the diaspora. And I like to always say too, because when you think of soul food, it's like comfort, it's like that internal hug. And I'm sure that our ancestors had to have that to endure everything that they had to, during that time period. And then just to think of what the diaspora is, it was when a mass dispersion of our people were translated from Africa and dispersed throughout different regions. And four of the main regions are the American South, and parts of Africa, the Caribbeans, and South America. Next slide, please. So when you think of soul food, again, you think of foods like Hop and John. And Hop and John, or your black eyed peas, you have to have them New Year's Day because it brings what? Good luck. Yes. And so other things like whole cake, fat back, neck bones, pork chop, and so many other things. And it was, considered low on the hog. Have you heard that before? It's considered low on the hog, what the foods that were given to our ancestors. Next slide, please. And so because of eating that way, it has truly impacted our community. I want to just give a point here. Our ancestors did not have the diseases that are so prevalent amongst our community now. They were the epitome of health because of not just the way they ate, but just the lifestyle in general. So as I mentioned, many of the diseases that we suffer today, like diabetes, heart disease, obesity, high blood pressure, all of that was very rare in early times. But as we shifted from the traditional ways of eating, the chronic diseases arose. And so when you look at high blood pressure, Blacks that are 35 to 60 years old are 50% more to have high blood pressure and 2 times more to die from heart disease, 40 to 64% to have diabetes, and 30% more likely to be obese. Next slide, please. And because of these chronic conditions, and I'm sure you've heard this on the news many, many times, that because of the underlying chronic conditions, if someone contracted COVID-19, that their prognosis was not the best because of those underlying conditions. So as you see here in New York, which was the epicenter, 52% of the people who died from COVID-19 had high blood pressure. And then even further, people with underlying health conditions made up 94% of COVID-19 deaths in the United States. And then as far as being hospitalized, 2.7 times the rate of whites. So I'm not sure if any of you have been impacted by COVID-19, by having a family member or a friend pass away. Listen, that is very painful. And because just my passion is for us to live at our optimal health, we can change the narrative, because before there was a pandemic, there was the epidemic, and still is the epidemic of all of these chronic diseases in our community. And I think we can change the narrative on that. And we can go to the next slide, please. So the good news, because I don't want to leave you in a low space. I want us to leave on a positive note about this. So diabetes, you know what? It is not our heritage. Neither is heart disease. What we do have in our heritage is a healthy heart, a strong body, extraordinary energy, vibrant and delicious foods, and a long, healthy life. And so we have the power to claim all of this by using our heritage as a guide. And so I want to just, because today, Juneteenth, is really a celebration of freedom. And as we, in the previous slide, I talked about the food, the soul food per se, was what the enslaved ancestors had to eat. That was the diet of enslavement. It's time for us to switch and eat as though we're free. And so going back to the roots of our African heritage foodways is a great way to celebrate that freedom. And this too will also help us uproot the chronic diseases that so impact our lives. And the quote here by Marcus Garvey is that a people without the knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. Next slide, please. Now, the African heritage diet, what I like to call is the OG soul food, because when our ancestors ate prior to enslavement, they ate predominantly plant-based. They only ate meat for celebration. It was not the star on the plate. And so we can go to the next slide. The plate, the food of the African heritage, celebrates the flavors and pleasures of the African heritage foods and ways of eating. And it also, like I mentioned about the different regions, it contributes the characteristics that make the food very delicious. So it includes those regions of Africa, the Caribbean, Latin America, South America, and the American South. And as I know I keep repeating this, but I really want you to get it, that over the generations, many of the food traditions have been lost. And with the influence of modern American eating habits, this is, really caused us to suffer because of losing or not adhering to our foods of old. Next slide, please. So examples of African heritage diet, again, it aims to bring healthy traditions back to the table. And science has really proven that this way of eating can prevent the diseases, as well as it can better treat the diseases as well. So by incorporating the whole grains, your vegetables, your fruit, all of that, and your beans really help you in living a healthy lifestyle. Next slide, please. So let's compare the two. So on the left-hand side, you'll see that's the traditional heritage diet pattern. And then on the right, you see the modern standard American diet pattern. And that is called SAD. You may have heard it referenced as SAD, the standard American diet, because it is sad, because when you're eating that way, you end with a lot of grief, be it, suffering from a diagnosis or a family member suffering from diagnosis. So again, letting you know, the standard, or I'll say the OG soul food, was plant-based, standard American animal-based. OG soul food, it's whole foods from the ground. And I want you to just think of this as the acronym for soul food. Seasonal. Our ancestors ate foods that were in season. When you're seeing watermelon year-round, it's not in season, it's in season now. They ate organic, meaning they didn't use the conventional pesticides. They ate unprocessed. They ate, again, food that's whole, how it comes from the ground. And they ate locally because they had their own gardens. They had their own farms and lands to fill in the field. And the other things, like I said, foods were high in fiber and complex carbohydrates, like your whole grains, your cereals, your starchy vegetables, and tubers like your sweet potatoes. And the SAD diet is low in fiber, high in refined flours and grains. And when you're, just want to have a little commercial here about fiber. What fiber does, it helps keep things regular. I know you're familiar with that, but it also, if a person has diabetes, it helps to stabilize the blood sugars, not to have those spikes up and down, but have a steady blood sugar. Because when you have those high spikes and then those low drops, you get hangry. Nobody wants that. We want you to, be in love and peace, but those are some things, some benefits of having the fiber. Going further, in the foods that of old was low in sodium, and we know how high sodium foods puts us at risk of high blood pressure, which then puts us at risk of heart disease and stroke. And lastly, the foods were low in unhealthy fats and refined sugars. Next slide, please. So, not sure if you've heard of this Sankofa and the symbol. What that means is to go back and take. And I think, again, you're hearing me saying going back to the ways of old, taking from the past that which is good and bringing it to the present. That is what the African Heritage Diet is to do for us, to take back, go back to the ways of old so that we can move forward in health. Right? We want to change the trajectory. We are leaders in the community, but we do not have to lead in all of these chronic diseases. Do you agree with me? Let me see it in the chat. And we can go to the next slide. All right, and just want to let you know again that this is not new. I know you probably have heard plant-based so many times recently, you know, and even statistics have shown that African Americans are more, the numbers are higher for them to transition to a plant-based way of eating. I think of it as we are returning back to, you know, our traditional ways. And so you'll see here on this PowerPoint that there were many of our ancestors and forefathers who were plant-based. Who we just recently lost was Cicely Tyson. She was plant-based. She was 99, 90, I think. I can't remember. I know she was in her 90s. But anyway, she was plant-based. Dick Gregory and so many others were plant-based. So just wanted you to see that everything is old. Everything that was old is new again. You know, that term is used sometimes in fashion, but it translates to this as well. Next slide. And I want to just share, I know I kind of touched very lightly, or it was a highlight about the diet, but there are some documentaries that I think are worth having a sit down with family and to continue the conversation. One of those documentaries is the post-traumatic slave diet, and that documentary discusses the historical context of our approach to diet and healing, as well as the effects of the cultural dietary habits among Africans. And that is on YouTube and it's free. You just type in the post-traumatic slave diet and it's there. It's about a little over 2 hours long, but it's a great documentary it goes really in depth about our diet, how our ancestors ate prior to enslavement, and the impact of us making that change and how we can return back to the ways of old. Next slide, please. All right, and then so there's another documentary entitled The Invisible Vegan. So there are some well-known people that you have heard of, Cedric the Entertainer, John Sally, and some great activists as it relates to going back to our old ways of eating that's in this documentary. This was released in 2019. And this one, again, explores the problem of unhealthy diet patterns in the African American community for grounding the health and wellness possibilities enabled by plant-based vegan diets and lifestyle choices. Now, that one is on Vimeo. It's also on Apple TV and Roku and Chromecast. So that one, I think you can rent it for maybe $3 or something like that. But again, that one is available for you to, you know, really sit through and have conversation about. Next slide. So now the call to action. So let's look at some, and I encourage you to try 1, 2, 3, or all 4 of them to improve your health through heritage. Next slide. The first one, first I want to give you the results of the health through heritage. And again, a lot of this information that I'm sharing with you comes straight from Old Ways, where I am the African Heritage and Health Ambassador. So again, just showing you by going back to the old ways of eating using the African Heritage Diet, it shows that it helps lower the risk of heart disease, high blood pressure, and stroke, avoid or help treat diabetes, achieve a healthy weight and avoid obesity, and so much more. And I want to share here, I didn't have this on the slide, but one of the statistics that was shown, like colon cancer. So one of the examples or the research information that was given is that they used the study and they used men And so they had men from Africa, and then they had 10 men from Africa and 10 that were, here in the US that was eating the standard American diet. So what they did, they switched the diets for 2 weeks now, just 2 weeks. Okay. And so the men in the US, they had on their diagnostic test, they showed like signs of cancer cells. And the men from Africa did not. But when they switched the diet just for 2 weeks, the men from the US saw a great improvement and had no cancer cells at all. And then the men from Africa who took on the standard American diet, they started showing signs of cancer cells growing. So again, the impact of the African heritage diet is very powerful, and it can really help us change our lives and improve our health. Next slide, please. So listen, I'm from the South, and you cannot have any food that's not flavorful. So this is where we can start with boosting flavor with spices. So give you an example. When you normally have your greens, what you put in them. You have some type of smoked meat, and many times it's pork. But let's talk through what that pork has in it that you can use your spices to help, and you don't miss the meat, but still has a lot of flavor. So that smoked meat, number one, is going to give you the smoke. It's going to give you salt. It's going to give you a little bit of sweetness, and it's going to give you, smoke, salt, sweetness. So what you can do, and fat. It's going to give you that. So what you can do to boost the flavor without the meat, you can use smoke. For the smoke, use smoked paprika. We put paprika on everything. You put it on your potato salad to make it pretty. You know how we use it. So you can use the smoked paprika there. For the salt, if you're wanting to keep the sodium low, you can use like a low sodium soy sauce or liquid aminos, coconut aminos, anything like that, or tamari. You can use those. And tamari is really the soy without wheat in it. And so you can use that. That also is going to give you the umami flavor or the savoriness. Again, helps you not miss the meat. For the sweet, you can use a little maple syrup in that. And then the last thing is the fat. We want to limit not having so much fat, but you can put a little bit of grapeseed oil in there if you're using oil, or you don't have to use it at all. So that helps boost the flavor with spice. So who's committed to trying a new spice? Or date syrup? Yes, date syrup is awesome as well. Or agave nectar, that is good as well, because agave nectar is better on your blood sugar. It doesn't give you that spike. Who is willing to at least try a new spice this coming week? Because there are so many. We have the curries, we have the peppers, we have ginger, herbs and spices. You have your ginger, you have garlic, onion, all of those things. And if you add a little bit of acid, as we're still talking about the collard greens, add a little apple cider vinegar to that at the end, baby. That wakes up all the flavors going on in those greens. And again, you'll never miss the meat, because I have family out there and they can attest to my greens being good. I don't have to tell you, they can tell you in the chat that the greens are good. All right, next slide. So I want someone to commit to that, some spices, boosting the flavor with spice. As I mentioned before, let's make the vegetables the star of the plate and not the meat. So you can, it's unlimited, the fruit of the vegetables that you can have. You can steam them, you can saute them, you can roast them, you can grill them, or you can eat them raw in a salad. Things like your okra, your cabbage, as I already talked about the greens, because greens are throughout the diaspora. All kinds of greens, your green beans, eggplants, things of that nature. Make those the star of your plate. Who can commit to making vegetables the star of your plate over the next coming week? Next slide, please. Now, rice and beans, your staple. Now, listen, my dad, he's no longer with us now, but he would always ask my mom sometimes, he just wanted some beans and rice with cornbread. Anybody else had that, wanted that for dinner, and it will fill you up. Why? Because you have the fiber in there, like we talked about before. It helps you feel fuller longer, and you can do more throughout the day because you have that fiber and you're sustained with that. You can add your peas and rice, have it as it is. You can have it in a stew. You can have it in a soup. You can make a burrito out of it, you know, making it, stretching the recipe with the rice and beans. Next slide, please. Now, jazzing up the fruits for dessert. Listen, we always want to have a sweet treat. Why not use the vegetables that are in season and you can have a sweet treat? And so one example that I think of, and it's a really good recipe, if you had mango, papaya, you can have coconut shreds, a little coconut milk, a little agave nectar, and mix that up together, and you can top it with some granola. That is a great dessert. So try that. Anyone willing to try that? And those are the 4. There are many more steps for health through heritage, but those, I just thought those 4 would be great as starting points. All right, so next slide, please. All right, so now we're going to take a little break because I need to set up. Let's see, I saw someone said about spices. They're going through quick. But anyway, I'm going to take a moment and set up so we can do the cooking demo. So, you know, we're still doing the backyard cookout here, the conversation. Now we're going to take the conversation to the kitchen. You know, usually at any home gathering, the kitchen is where everybody hangs out. So give me a moment. I'm going to set up and then we're going to do the cooking demonstration. Kimberly, do we have a video or something that we can play? It won't take me long, just need to set up. All right. All right, I will be right back with you.
I love that this app lets you know that your mic is muted while you're just talking and running your mouth and no one else can hear you. I said I'll jump in and come in and hold space for our sister Deitra, isn't it? I agree, Patricia. It is a great presentation, and that's actually, I love the engagement that you guys have going on right now, talking about your beans and rice. And I agree, Lisa. Okra is so good for us, though. It's like one of the best vegetables for us. But the slime, um, as long as they cut that out, which I believe the seeds are normally where most of the vitamins and stuff lives, but if they could get some of that out of there, I can work with okra if they just don't cook them down so soft. What else did we have going on here in the comment space? I'm excited. I can't wait to see what she's gonna make for us or teach us how to make. I agree, Anisha. I'll have to ask her what the S stood for again. I missed that one. Hey, Dexter, how are you? Welcome, everybody. Thank you, community, for spending time with us today. I hope you guys come out tomorrow and are able to, if available. We'll be at Herbert Von King Park on Tompkins tomorrow. And we'll be at Restoration Plaza on Fulton on Sunday with our youth, our entrepreneurs, our youth entrepreneurs on Sunday. Ah, she's back. She's back. I'm excited.
I'm back. Okay. So I heard the conversation about the okra. So a tip on making the okra not being so slimy. So if you want to saute them in your skillet before you put them like in your gumbo, that helps for it. It's gonna still have a little bit of slime, which helps your blood, but it helps, you know, decrease the slime. And I'm with you on that. I don't like the slime either. The S, so the soul, S is for seasonal, eating foods that are in season. O is organic, meaning that it doesn't have the conventional pesticides in there that's harmful to your body. Unprocessed, meaning eating foods that are whole. And then L is for local, eating things local. And you know, I know with COVID, a lot of people have started doing their own gardening, in-home gardening, or even outside. That is a great thing to do, and support your local farmers, especially your Black farmers. Please support them. So now our recipe for today is black-eyed pea salad. So, I got to give you a little history lesson as I prepare. So what we have in front of us, of course, we have the black-eyed peas right here behind me. They're the star of the show. They give you fiber, give you the protein, and they also, it's not, I know, we normally are used to it for New Year's Day, as well as throughout the year, but black-eyed peas also is very popular in West and Central Africa. Have you guys ever heard of akara, which is a black-eyed pea fritter, what we would call here in the South, a black-eyed pea fritter? That is one of the dishes that is from West Africa, the black-eyed peas. The next thing we have, as far as the salad is concerned, we have cucumbers. Now, cucumbers are good for hydration. If you go to the spa, you put the cucumber on your eyes because it gives you the hydration. So, gives you the hydration that you need. The next thing in the salad, we have some red bell peppers. Now, let me ask you this question, trivia. So tell me which, the green bell pepper or the red bell pepper, which one is considered a ripe bell pepper? All right, I know it's a little delay in the feed here, but let me just tell you, the red, yes, red bell pepper is a ripe bell pepper. So how it goes, the green bell pepper, because think of it with a banana. When the banana is green, it's not ripe and it's bitter. Same thing with the bell pepper. When it's green, it's a little bitter. Then it goes to yellow, then it goes to orange, then it goes to red. And your red bell pepper has more vitamin C than a citrus fruit. Did you know that? Yeah, so add some red bell pepper to your diet. Then we have some jalapenos because we need a little heat. And then we got some cilantro. A little bit about cilantro. Cilantro is very delicious. And I know some people, their palate, just with their genes, for some reason, it makes it taste soapy. But if you don't have that, cilantro is very good to go on a salad, on top of anything. Is really good. But did you know that the cilantro and the coriander spice comes from the same plant? So the cilantro, of course, is the plant, and then the coriander is the seed. They have different flavors. So the cilantro has more of a citrusy note and freshness, whereas the coriander has more of a warm note, and it pairs very well with cumin. So that's why I have that here. And then I have shallots. Shallot is like the garlic and the onion had a baby, and it's shallot. So that's that. When you look at the dressing, oh, okay, all right. Someone said they have grown to like cilantro. Awesome, awesome. So in the dressing, we have apple cider vinegar, we have lime juice, we have Dijon mustard, maple syrup, and you're going to get a copy of the recipe. I'm not sure, Kim, if you can let us know where that recipe is, because I did send it so you guys can have it and make it for your next cookout or just hanging out at the house. I said maple syrup, and when you have black-eyed peas, you have to have what? Hot sauce. Yes, you do. And the spices. So in the recipe, it just calls for cumin, but just like any recipe, it's a guide and you make it your own. So your girl here did what? Boost the flavor with spices. So I added cumin, I added coriander, just like I mentioned. And we can't have anything without onion powder, garlic powder, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. That is what I had in there. So let's get started. We're going to get started with the vinaigrette first. So I'm going to add our lime juice. And I didn't use oil in the recipe. It has oil, but I really do like to keep things low fat because, when we're having the high fat foods, or even with the oil, yes, you may have good oils, but you still don't want to eat a whole lot of it because that's where you'll see the pounds continue to add up. If you've been trying to lose that last little bit of weight, when you're having the oil, that could be the culprit. It also kind of clogs your arteries and all that good stuff. So we want to keep that at a minimum. So I didn't use oil. I'm going to use water. But like I said, because I boosted up the spices, I won't miss the oil. The next thing I'm going to add is maple syrup, because you got to balance out the flavor. So another thing, I'm giving you all the goodness today. So think of this when you are cooking. You want, and I'm going to do the apple cider vinegar, you want acronym FAST-U. F is for a fat. You want a whole fat. So you can use a nut butter, or a coconut, something like that, or an avocado for your fat. You want to use that. So F, and then A is for an acid. So you want to use, like I have the lime juice today, and I have the apple cider vinegar. And then you want a salt. As I mentioned before, you can use the soy sauce for that. If you're wanting to avoid that, celery seed, not sure if you guys are familiar with that, celery seed helps with a lot of the salt in that as well. So that is our salad dressing. I'm going to put in my spices in there. And I like to, when I'm cooking, I go ahead and mix whatever those spices are going to be. I like to go ahead and mix them together so that everybody gets the same amount of love. Because, if you sprinkle a little salt here, a little pepper there, somebody might miss something. We want everybody to get all the goodness, right? So I usually go ahead and mix everything together. I'm going to whisk here, and then I'm going to add my water in to get it the consistency that I want. And this is very quick, guys, with preparing this. I think I'm just going to put just a little water. I don't need too much, just a little. And can you see it okay? Okay, yeah. The recipe is in the description. Thank you, Kim. The recipe is in the description, in the chat for you. All right, so now we're ready to add the star of the dish, which is the black-eyed peas. You just add that on top of the vinaigrette, because we're going to mix everybody together to get to know one another. I'm going to add my shallots. And going to add the cucumber. It's just a dump and stir now, guys. Oh, I want to go back to the black-eyed peas. I didn't use fresh. I did use canned, and it's okay to use canned as long as you're looking for low sodium, as well as BPA free, because the BPA in the can have been known to cause cancer. So many of the canned goods do now have BPA free. But if you're not able to find the low sodium, definitely try if you can, but if you don't have it, it's okay. What you do is rinse the salt, the sodium, rinse them well, because it reduced the sodium by 40%. Okay. That was the jalapeno. Going in with some of the cilantro. I'm going to leave a little bit for the cilantro for garnish to make it pretty, because you know what? If it's not pretty on the plate, it's not going on anybody's fork. I don't care who it is. So make it pretty. Okay, so I'm gonna put a little bit here and save some for later for the garnish. And now we just mix it together. You want to be careful. The black-eyed peas are a little delicate. Now you can make it as spicy as you like. You could have I de-seeded. I took the seeds out of my jalapeno. You could leave them in if you like it with a whole lot of kick. I like a little bit. I don't like it to knock me out. So I can't see your comments anymore. Yes, rinse them off. Rinse them off. Yes, indeed. Rinse the peas or anything that's in the can. Rinse them well. Can you guys see okay? It's really pretty. Very vibrant colors here. And so what you can do with this, again, you can take it to the next cookout, and you can have it buffet style, or you can, making a little mess, Deitra. You can have it buffet style, in a pretty bowl for people to get, or I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. Because, when you're at the cookout, you want to be able to have things in your hand so you can walk around and talk. We're going to put it in a cute little bowl like this. And we eat together. Any questions? And I love giving gifts. So I have something else I want to share with you. So I had the wonderful opportunity of working with Old Ways. As I said, I'm the ambassador of African Heritage and Health. And I also work with the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, which I am a Food for Life instructor, helping, really using the nutrition to help heal us. But this was a passion and a dream of mine to have a plate that was culturally relevant. So it's the African Heritage Power Plate booklet. And again, prevention of diabetes, heart disease, cancer, and obesity. So in the book, this is how you build your plate using the fruit, vegetables, whole grains, and beans to build your plate. When you do that, you're getting all of the colors. And I have to go back, guys, when you're talking about, and I think I'm okay on time, when you're thinking about the food, food is medicine. And out the way, because now we're going to have a little table talk. Food is medicine. And have you heard of that before, that food is medicine? I'll give you an example. So say, for instance, when you are, think of sweet potatoes or anything orange that has beta carotene. Beta carotene, it has been shown that breast cancer for women can be prevented 19% of the time if you eat more orange foods, your beta carotene. That is medicine. Yes, food is medicine. And so, going back to, and I apologize if I offend anyone, but in Genesis 1:29, it was said that, allow the plants to be your food. That is why, because the phytochemicals, or it's called plant chemicals or plant nutrients in the food, is what heals us. The Creator made that within the food for us to live at our optimal health. And have you heard the scripture where it says, I wish above all that you may prosper and be in health, even as your soul prosper? Listen, we have a lot of work to do in the community, and we need to be at our optimal health to do that. Each of us have a purpose in life. So let's take the pain of all of this chronic disease and turn that into a purpose and a passion for us to really live at our optimal health and help our community soar and be the leaders and be the best that we can be. Are there any questions? Oh, I'm sorry, let me get back. I had a little commercial. So we're back to what I was talking about. So in the book here, it gives you examples of the food, gives you the nutrition facts, because I know many times people say, well, you can't get enough. And I know the light might not be the best, but Kimberly, if you can put this one in the link too. But many people feel like you don't get enough protein if you eat all plant-based. All the food have protein in it. Calcium, you get enough of that. Beans and greens give you the calcium that you need. Vitamin D, you can get that as well with eating a plant-based diet. Still getting outside in the sun, that is still important for you as well. Inside here as well, there are 8 recipes that's throughout the diaspora. I worked very closely with the team on this, and I was very grateful because it took some time in creating this, because when I had the desire for something like this, it was in it was like 2017, but the book didn't get published until last year, 2020. So even though it took a long time, it was worth it, because it really is valuable information to help our community live at our optimal health. So I have one other. Yes, mushrooms have vitamin D. Yes, thank you, Anisha. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Anisha or Anisha. I wanted to share too. So your Brooklyn borough's president, Eric Adams, he wrote this book, Healthy at Last. Have you guys heard of the book? This was published last year, I want to say. Last year. Yes, last year. It was October or November last year that it was released. He reversed diabetes by eating the way that I talked about, using the African heritage as a guide. And his mother, who is in her 80s, she adopted this way of eating as well, reverse diabetes, no longer on insulin. So we can do this. We can do this. Yes. So any questions? I'm trying to see, and bear with me a second. Let me wipe this off. Clean out my mess. Any questions that I can answer? I'm trying to see. And I'm looking through, guys. I want to be sure I haven't missed any questions that may have come up. Okay, just wanted to share that in the vendor room, that is where you can find the copy of the recipe. And so those of you that are on StreamYard, that's where you can find that. And the booklet, the recipe in the booklet. Any other questions? It has really been a pleasure to be here before you today. And like I said, for me, taking the nursing care, that is with me all day, every day. It's just, I took it from the bedside and took it to the table side, so that, listen, we can have a table talk and we can live at our optimal health. So thank you for the opportunity to be of service today.
Ashe, thank you, Deitra. Am I saying your name properly?
Deitra, yes.
Well, thank you so much. You know, your presentation was so thorough that
Thank you.
I think you answered so many questions that that many of us would have had. And you talked about so many talking points that were just so divine and perfect. And I thank you. I thank you for us today. I want the community to know that, as she just mentioned, she's in one of our vendors. Will you be vending with us the whole entire weekend, or just today?
Just today. Just today.
Just today. All right.
Yes.
Well, folks, you can find her information, lives in the chat as well. Don't forget to go get those recipes. I know that black eyed peas is something that has grown on me from my mama making for New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
And years I find also, as the older that I get, the more my body craves healthy food. I crave more greens, crave beans, I crave things that I did not want or like earlier on. So now to have another way to prepare them, I'm super excited and looking forward. And I'll definitely, after I make it, come on, I'm going to find you on social media.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. That was on there. My last slide. So my website is just like my name, fullcirclehealthcoachingllc.com. I know it's long, but I had to add the LLC because the other name was taken. So on Facebook, I'm there, as well as YouTube. You can see a lot of other videos of, yeah. Thank you, Kim. Or is that you, Jamie, driving? To the right.
Yeah, Kim is taking care of that part.
Okay.
She's holding us down on the slide work.
Yes. Ooh.
To the left.
There we are. Yeah, so on Facebook and YouTube. So on the YouTube page, I don't have as many videos there, but if you go to the playlist side of on the channel, you'll see where I have been a speaker on other channels, other cooking demos, things of that nature. So you can see me there. And I look forward to connecting with each of you, and, enjoy this weekend, and really think about, like I mentioned before, this is a perfect opportunity, using our way of eating to celebrate the freedom. Again, we have a lot of work to do in the community, and we have to be at our best health in order to do that.
Ashe. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everyone said you are a true diamond of a presentation. Great presentation.
Thank you.
You were awesome. Lisa Baxter would like you to come on to her show on YouTube.
Okay.
And William says thank you again, and I thank you again on behalf of Juneteenth. And everyone, before we move that slide, take your screenshot so that way you can get that information. Reach out, follow. After you make your black eyed peas salads, send pictures, give her feedback, let her know what it was like, how it turned out for you. If you tweaked anything a little bit, share.
Yes, yes, because you can change up the beans. Do it. Look, make it your own. Make it your own.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you so much.